more so coming on much later.
Yes.
The nerfs that'll remove him from the meta are coming later.
Okay, so still relevant, but it is going to be the Kassadin lock-in here, and Shen heading towards the top side of the map. M3 with the opportunity of counter-picking this one away if they want to. Lupa with a lot of different options up there in what could potentially be a non-interactive lane, but so far from QG, it's a pretty terrifying team comp.
Yeah, Doinb solo carrying twice in a row on the Kassadin. They've got V now playing that Shen, able to facilitate the rest of his team, force someone into his lane and split push. Wouldn't come as a surprise if they picked that Shyvana. You can see the summoner spells already ready to go from Lupa.
Yep.
So it's definitely a possibility. It does well into the Shen. Something that we mentioned earlier is that it can push him, keep him stuck under the tower with the burnout, and just kind of impede his ability to move around the map. You're always going to be comfortable in saying that. Still not a bad decision, just not as effective in the top lane exclusive purpose. Yeah,
and it looks like M3 actually going with the Gnar here, so looking for a little bit more teamfight control. Of course, that massive Mega Gnar able to get a whole lot of work done, especially with that massive AoE ultimate. So we'll see whether Lupa can get the job done. And of course, Mini Gnar, fantastic harassment champion there in the top lane. So Shen may not necessarily be able to neutralize it as easily as he otherwise would.
Oh no, he's not going to have the greatest time in this top lane. Shen always looking to just get the Barmy Cinder before he can start rotating around the map. Get that level 6 and try and keep the wave not under your own tower. But Gnar is very good at ensuring that it is under your tower at all stages.
Yep.
His wave clear, though not worth mentioning outright, is still very evident and is going to be much more so than that of a Shen, who has essentially 0 wave clear. They've also got a very low pressure mid laner here, Xiaogu, in terms of early game.
Yep.
The Kassadin does very well into Victor though. It's always a pseudo soft counter, as it has been labeled, is that it doesn't directly push a Victor out of lane, but you can't push a Kassadin out of lane, and that is the important part for a Kassadin.
Yeah, Kassadin, of course, all about just wanting to survive the early laning phase and then just get ridiculous things done as we head onto the Rift. But V versus Lupa here is going to be the first matchup here in the top lane, as Gnar into Shen have spoken about that already. But this is interesting here. Swift taking the Lee Sin against Condi's Echo, and it's almost like both of these players have switched champions.
I was going to say the exact same thing. It feels like they've swapped around a little bit. Suddenly we've got the Lee Sin against the Echo, which is unusual to consider the fact that the Lee Sin is on Swift and the Echo is on Condi. But in saying that, it's still fulfilling what both junglers like to do with their respective champions, and that is put the early pressure down and get their laners ahead.
Yeah, and as far as team comps as well, it makes a whole lot of sense. You want to get that Kassadin through lane if you can, and of course, you want to make sure that you have that Venn diagram if you can have it. Of course, with those first 2 lockaways, M3 decided that they definitely wanted that situation. We'll see whether they can make it work in teamfights.
Yeah, that's right. The Venn diagram comp, as you've labeled it, is very strong in zone control. It has this unique team fighting capability. It's going to be great.
It certainly is, but we are going to get onto the Rift. Oh! We are back, ladies and gentlemen. We are straight into a pause here.
How convenient.
Yeah, it is generally what happens, of course. Ironing out the kinks. It has been a week, Rusty. Just need to make sure that everyone is going to be fine. And, of course, already onto the Rift. Not a whole lot to talk about, and no interesting items either, as very strangely, Victor has a Hex Core.
Whoa. That is abnormal, to say the least. But as you said, everything going to be quite standard. You look at both of these teams and think maybe the big question mark is actually going to be Swift. We mentioned just earlier the fact that he's on a Lee Sin, and that is the early pressure that he's always looking to do.
Yeah.
But in saying that, a champion that is notorious for dropping off around the mid-late stage and then coming back in late game is not necessarily what Swift wants to have if he's looking to actually be the carry that his team always needs.
Yeah, or unless he's just saying, okay, I'm going to go completely ballistic this game, pick up a warrior enchantment and kill everyone on the map.
Entirely possible. He can do that. If a Lee Sin gets ahead, he generally stays relevant through all stages of the game. But then that's also on the preface that you are going to be ahead irrespective of who you're up against.
It's a good point.
Not necessarily easy to kill an Echo ever. The top lane Gnar, unless he's mini Gnar, is very difficult to kill, but you do have a Shen to facilitate that fact. You have a Shen in general, so the Lee Sin can afford to be over-aggressive in his decision-making and his positioning, because you know you have that shield to back you up. There's a lot of versatility around their team comps and what they are designed to do, and we'll see if they can actually make that happen, because it's not easy to execute. But if anyone can do it from the jungle, it's going to be Swift.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I was actually going to talk about the jungle here because, of course, the jungle follows are a question. Are we going to get a lane swap this game, Rusty? Do you think that the Thresh Kalista lane is something you just have to dodge?
It's very difficult to be in, that is for certain. The Corki has an okay time in laning phase, but it's very hard when you have a support that is reasonably high pressure, but not super high pressure. It's just there.
Yeah, of course, on your screen right now, Ruo trying to prove himself on the Rift. Haven't seen him for a while, and we'll see how he goes heading onto the M3 roster. We do see what looks like standard lanes.
Yeah, we're looking at the standard lanes at least at the moment. Everyone being very neutral in their positioning and neutral in their vision as well. So we're probably going to see the standard lanes unfold unless Xiaogu have been the ones to spot that ward and said we don't want to be in it. But that's unlikely given that it's a Shen.
Yeah, you can see as well, lots of pings on the wards going down. You can see M3 actually getting both of theirs spotted towards the top side of the map. And it looks like there might be a switch up here as Nautilus heading towards the top lane. Ruo trying to go for a lane swap.
Yeah, from the looks of it, they are swapping here. M3, something that of either team that you would expect a lane swap would be this Masters 3 team.
Oh yeah.
They're into a very difficult 2v2 in the bot lane. Shen, not the best in a 1v2, has a unique amount of kill pressure because of the taunt being present. But they haven't actually spotted that this is going to happen, so they are going to get a successful 1v2.
Yeah, so SMLZ and Ruo are going to be able to make it so that SMLZ gets some easier farm here in the early game. Ruo just going to check this brush. V was discovered, but he's fast enough, is going to be able to make it out of there. And M3, they want him.
He hasn't leveled anything yet, Shen, so if need be, he would have got that taunt and found himself in safety. But you can see SMLZ trying to make sure that the wave pushes back towards them and they get a freeze going by stacking the minions so that they focus one minion themselves.
Yeah, incredibly deep freeze as well here as SMLZ actually tanked up about a third of his health in damage. Already Dade and Doinb going pretty aggressive here in the mid lane.
Something that is a necessity for the Kassadin in mid lane is to ensure that you time your spell shields, your magic damage shields, with the Victor putting down his damage. The best way to force that timing is just by being in his face.
Yeah, and already V able to actually get some farm here as the freeze was very deep. SMLZ is going to be able to stop that relatively quickly as Ruo is just doing some interesting moves here in the top side of the map. But so far, nothing really of note just yet. And we'll see whether Xiaogu are going to have an explosive start with this Lee Sin or whether it's going to be M3 able to make something happen around the Rift.
It's going to be difficult for them to actually deny the Shen, right? Or to stop the Shen being denied right now. Because if he wants the last hit, then he's going to push the lane. They've already secured the fact that they can very easily get that freeze now in their favor. And in order to actually break this, you can see he's just going to stuck at his own. He needs Swift to put some pressure here.
Yeah, actually has taken the Shadow Dash level 2. Yeah, not too bad. Of course, level 1 here for the Nautilus. Does get level 2 now, so Dredge Line is going to be available if he wants it. He's going to throw it out, lands it there quite nicely, and it's a whole lot of Riptide damage.
Yeah, at the end of the day, Ruo's not really worried about taking damage, and the Shen needs to be careful with how much he does take, because if the Corki is nearby, then he will start to struggle in this top lane. The bot lane right now, though, by the way, is a 1v0. Free experience and free tower damage.
And I'm not sure where Condi started as well. By the looks of things, he already had a blue buff spinning around him. So 3 buff start here as Swift unable to get anything. But Dade gets hooked TCT with a massive play there. But Dade not even going to burn a flash.
No, nice hook, but Swift had disappeared.
Okay, V actually going to find SMLZ here. He's going to have to Valkyrie out of the way of the Shen.
Yeah.
Health now for Corki. So
V actually got a lot of free experience. He wasn't zoned away from the experience at the very least. In fact, he farmed quite nicely. But that's 4 members.
Yeah, this is going to be very difficult for V. Parallel convergence coming through. There's the Dredge Line from Ruo. Not going to get the stun here is Condi. They're trying to slow him down. Ignites down here as well as Looper gets the hyper proc. V, he is going to go down, and that's going to be first blood for SMLZ.
Very well executed to ensure that nobody went down, because at this stage in the game, that tower hurts by a ridiculous amount. A lot of summoner spells used though. The Nautilus using both of his, the Corki even flashing to try and secure that kill. Thankfully he did, or it could have been an awkward flash. But in saying that, they get the result that they are looking for. V now struggling again.
Yeah, huge deal as well for Looper, who was sitting on 2 CS to the 14 of V. So that extra money from the assist, although probably not that much and not enough to get him up to par, is going to be important.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, the difference between them is still noticeable at this stage. The Shen actually doing okay, considering as we were watching his start of the game, to still have 14 CS and see the pressure that the Nautilus was placing. The second Nautilus leaves, to be able to even do that well in a 1v1 with SMLZ. He's doing quite well, but now that he has died, Na's still going to be zoned. The discrepancy between the two is going to probably stay around the same.
Yeah, and especially now, Lupa, this is the really deep freeze. Level 2 Na to the level 4 and the level 3 of Xiaogu's bottom lane. I don't think Lupa wants to go anywhere near this threshold ballista.
No, it's going to be very difficult for Lupa to go anywhere near it. Whereas you look at the 1v1 in the top lane, V's actually going to be quite alright. So I like the fact that after all of this time, at 5 minutes in the game, now is the moment where TNT found himself with a freezing bottom. They're going again.
Oh, yeah, the teleport in from Lupa as well. It's another 4v1. Oh, the minions didn't quite make it here to the turret as V is trying to make his way around, holding them off here as SMLZ. He's going aggressive onto him. Gatling gun, is going to be up. Ruo's going to tank up the tower, though. V gets the Shadow Dash, takes down SMLZ with help of the turret. Lupa grabs the kill, but that's a 1v1 for 1. V's going to be happy.
Fantastic play from V right there, ensuring that he got the kill. Looking to freeze it so that it didn't get to the turret and give them enough minions or positional advantages where they can actually get in and cleanly dive him. Instead, he forces SMLZ to be over-aggressive, and then SMLZ overstays to look for the kill. He didn't even heal right there, he just died.
Yeah, and M3 not going to be able to take this turret as well as level 5 on V. There's the Shadow Dash. Condi tanking up the turret here, taking a fair bit of damage. So much damage available as the turret does finally go down. Parallel Convergence is going to be able to get the stun and the shield, more importantly for Condi. Phase dive gets him back in, and Lupa picks up another one.
V put a lot of emphasis on ensuring that he actually got some taunts down to get them away from the turret, but he pays for it again. So a really bad teleport at the end result almost was a very smart idea, but in saying that, they have made a trade for him. He still should be able to get there to ensure he gets most of these minions at the top turret. All in all, everything's working out quite alright for Xiaogu. Just maybe not the best possible position for a Shen to be in.
Yeah, was definitely a gamble going for that one here as TCT just going to give Swift a hand taking down this blue buff and offering him a dark passage to safety as well. Doinb going to head back to base, augment that blasting one that he went for his first item.
Yeah, so it's important to look at these mid laners. 61 to 48 in the farm right now, heavily favoring Doinb in a matchup that the only real pressure that came down was a hook from TCT earlier in the game. The rest of it has been pretty much an exclusive 1v1. So doing very well is this Kassadin, as expected in that soft counter matchup, to get through the laning phase, at least successfully.
Well, that being said, Dade did just make it back to lane as well, so has closed that gap just a little bit, and Doinb now able to farm up the minions left underneath his turret. So we'll see as the dust settles how this one's going to work. Looks like approximately a 10 CS lead here for Doinb, so you're exactly right. Doing some work, unable to pick up the catalyst just yet, but does have the ingredients for that item.
Yeah, opting into the blasting one. He wants as much damage as possible to ensure his strength in the lane is still able to push Dade out. Someone who, with his ability power, gets a bigger shield from the Q and can sustain through a lot better. But Doinb's matching it, so very smart itemization on one of the smartest players in the LPL.
Yeah, there's also the fact that, you know, that Q, that spell shield, is going to give you a little bit more of a shield as well as more damage based on that AP. So defensive choice and offensive choice with that blasting one. On top of Dade here.
To me.
Yep, severely.
Something that you'll see a lot of right now, though, from here on out, is Doinb using his ultimate to actually put down pressure whenever they want, or whenever Dade wants to use his death ray to actually last hit minions or control the wave. It's very smart play. It works around Dade's spells to either deny him the ability to push minions down, or just get him to use the spells onto someone who has a magic damage shield on, and then he doesn't control the minions.
Yeah, controlling Dade's mana here on the side of Doinb, able to make sure that his resources are spent taking him down. As you can see, Dade half health here, and Doinb is able to shove out this wave.
Exactly right. You can see right there just what we were talking about. He death rays Doinb, who doesn't lose health because he has the shield. And then the minions, he's using about twice the mana essentially in this lane just to ensure he can get all of the last hits.
Yep. QG though in the bottom lane going to be pushing up this turret. SMLZ is going to be able to grab that one, but of course his bottom lane outer did fall down, so SMLZ not exactly as safe as he possibly could be. Condi making his way towards the bottom side. Doinb on top of Dade here. There's the gravity field. Parallel convergence coming in, but Condi not going to find any stuns, and Doinb just looks like he's able to have the time of his life in this lane. Death. Oh, Death Sense not quite onto Dade.
An aggressive decision there from TCT. He did have the Echo right there to aim for. Could have maybe forced a flash, but went for the kill hook right there to try and find Dade. Did not connect, so unlucky there from Xiaogu. And a smart little rotation though from that bot lane. They have nothing to do bottom. It is going to be another freeze though, so a very slow start to this game. Both of the AD carries looking for all of their farm.
Yeah, Condi actually getting some decent damage onto Doinb here. He's running out of mana just a little bit. Probably wants that Catalyst ASAP in order to keep that one up. Dade makes his way back to lane. 95 to 81 CS though, as Dade almost has that Morellonomicon completed. Yeah,
not too bad all in all. The mid lane, though ahead in farm, Dade's still going to have his items, still definitely going to be relevant. The bot lane of Xiaogu is actually rotated here, looking to maybe get down some structures.
Yeah, TNT actually with a bit of a turret-destroying build as well. Berserker's Greaves and, of course, the flat attack damage of the BF Sword and Longsword there as well. So QG going to be able to do some work taking down this turret, and it looks like there may not be enough of a response here from M3 in time.
Yeah, you have to question at this stage. It's going to be good of them to get the turret, but Swift is 3 zeros in his score right now.
Yeah.
That is how much impact he has had directly on killing a single member of M3. And as Lee Sin, not a great position to be in, to say the least.
Dade had a bit of a smirk on his face there, so we'll see whether he's got anything in store for QG. Teleport towards the bottom side of the map. V just going to soak up all of this farm as it heads underneath this turret, understanding that he could teleport to that turret that time.
Yeah, he knows he's a lot safer this time. The pressure was put top lane. They've managed to rotate as far as mid, but they can't really get any further. So these two are being adorable in their decision. But I say that with a very endearing term of that they're not going to find anything most likely.
Yeah, probably not here. And Lupa does have that bounce in order to get away if he wants to. Hex Drinker completed for the top laner of M3. And he's actually just going to head back to base. Has the ward.
Oh, no.
Ooh.
It is about to change back. Mini now.
He's going to have a bit more mobility that way. Death Ray looking for Doinb. Gets a little bit of damage. Fates calls down. Lupa looking to find his way out. Flashes, actually. Death Sentence picks the juke, and the box goes down. Looks like Lupa's dead. Swift adding a 1 to the front of that scoreline.
That was an amazing hook right there from TCT. Predicting that juke. Able to pick it up with the flash. The response is here, though.
Yeah, there's the parallel convergence. V looking to try and escape this one. Not going to make it out just yet. And he's going to go down. There's the ultimate just to reset the turret, and that means M3 can stick around underneath it.
Yeah, they're going to be able to get the turret, but meanwhile in the top lane, you do have to keep mind on the fact that this is happening.
Yeah, Dade's been flayed. There's the gravity field. Chaos Storm augmented by the turret means that Dade's able to pick up the kill. Teleport in from Lupa as he respawns at the same time. TNT very, very out of place as Swift, looking to try and take down Dade. It is going to be Dade. Oh, the triple kill there. And the victor is definitely going now.
The barrier was so well timed from Dade that they actually held off on using the Rend stacked TNT. He pays for it with his life, could not even use the Rend, and then Dade actually barely managing to live from the Lee Sin combo immediately after. This is so well played from Dade. First and foremost, flashing that hook, getting the stun onto TCT. They pick him up instantly. You can see the aggression translates immediately to him, but the teleport makes them hesitate. And this is where TNT makes the mistake with the barrier. He doesn't use the Rend. Almost goes down Dade, but look at all of the stacks inside of him right there that did not get ripped out.
Yep, he needed to pull those spears, but you're exactly right. I mean, he had no other choice. The barrier was always going to be there, and that's a 3-0-0 now for Dade. Augmented that Hex Core one more time, so we're going to have a lot more movement speed now. And of course, tons more AP and a Morellonomicon. This Victor just became very, very scary.
Yeah, and what was a lane that was going decently for Doinb is now very difficult to actually stay in that lane at all and be a part of it, just the raw pressure. In saying that, the instant Negatron cloak has been the decision here from Doinb.
Oh, Swift going down incredibly low here. Does use the safeguard to get out, but Lupa's going to lock down the kill. M3, all of them are here as TNT in no man's land. Parallel Convergence not going to find any stuns as the Rift Walk gets Doinb to safety. But M3 now with all of the cards.
Swift just doesn't feel as refined on this Lee Sin as he has looked on other champions at this stage. He was trying to find the kick, did not connect with a single member, and actually dies walking back in after an attempt to disengage. Could have just taken the Dark Passage and got out to safety, but a very aggressive decision finds him with a kill and a dragon.
Yeah, Condi actually walks away from the Death Sentence here. Phase dive onto TNT, takes the Dark Passage to get out. There's the Flay to try and get this Echo away here. Depth Charge finds TNT though. Phosphorus Bomb, so much damage, and SMLZ he can join the list of members on M3 that are looking pretty strong right now.
He's 3-1-2 with his core items completed. This is a massive power point. This spike that M3 are going through right now should be enough to give them some massive potential to snowball at the very least. Swift, that was smart though.
Yeah, kicks him away, takes the lantern in order to get out here, and QG just trying to do some damage control at this stage of the game.
Not only kicks him away, kicks him off the lantern so that he could click it.
Yeah,
so thankfully,
it's like, move out of the way, you jerk, that's my lantern.
Gets him off the top of the lantern, gets the safety. So smartly using the kick in that respect, but a defensive kick is an indication of how this game is going at the moment.
There's also the fact that Looper, player that we were talking about being a little bit behind in the earlier stage of the game, still behind 30 CS, but that's 3-1-4 on the scoreline. That is 7 out of 9 kill participations. Snara has been all over the Rift.
It has been, and I mean, what can you even say about it? He's just managed to catch up in situations that are otherwise really awkward. I'm guessing we're watching a 1v1 where someone dies here. I didn't actually see this unfold at all, so it's a bit awkward.
Yeah, Doinb looking to try and turn this one around. Yeah, Dade, the all-in from Doinb. Chaos Storm does go down. Last Rift Walk going to be enough.
And that actually comes down to the Negatron buy from Doinb. The fact that he can consistently still run into the face of Dade and be able to trade that much is just doing wonders for him. And something we've mentioned multiple times already is how smart Doinb is when it comes to playing this game, moving around the map, buying certain items, and the aggression that he's putting down has not changed since the start of the game.
Yeah, and a lot of extra respect now given to the mid laner here because, of course, QG not with a lot of magic damage on this Rift. Shen, I guess the Vorpal Blade doing a little bit of work and the Sunfire Cape, but Shen not known for his damage, so Dade with the Null Magic Mantle there looking to probably pick up the Abyssal Scepter, and that is purely for Doinb.
Yeah, so that is going to be just to get through the laning phase. At the very least, the Null Magic Mantle will become a Negatron, and then he may even just leave it at that for as long as possible if there's no other reason to pick it up further.
Yeah, ooh, Dredgeline lands onto Doinb. That was an interesting interaction as the Rift Walk did come out. And M3 now focusing here on the mid lane. They're utilizing SMLZ's Corki very, very well now that he has the Trinity Force.
Yeah, so they've got the Morellos and most of their Hex core upgraded. They've got decent mid-game items on the Nara as well if they're looking to dive. And they've got a very relevant Echo here. Condi has the items that he requires. Merc Treads, he's working on that health, has the Sightstone. So they've got a lot of vision. You can see all of the vision on their minimap around that mid lane turret. Something they're evidently looking to focus, or they're wasting a lot of their time with vision.
Well, SMLZ looking to try and pick up the Last Whisper as his next item. Never liked it, honestly. But look, a lot of people do it. Still works. I just not a fan. Corki does so much magic damage, it just bothers me.
He still does a lot of physical damage.
Yeah, I know.
Being
I
able
understand.
to get through the armor is great. You've got a Sheen Croc. It does 200% of the physical with a Trinity. It's great.
Yeah, not saying I know more, to be honest. It just irks me.
Okay.
Real weird. Yeah, Doinb is going to get caught by that gravity field, but of course, it's just so strong at the moment. 8 stacks on that Rod of Ages, and I mean strong by tankiness. He's just got a lot of health, a lot of magic resist, and there's not a lot that Dade can do about it.
Something that Doinb does best is he sometimes even just goes for the zone use as his next item and ensures he has all of the tanky stats possible, but they're pseudo-tanky because they're still giving him damage augmentation, which is phenomenal, and he makes it work. He carries. If he uses his ulti...
Oh, parallel conversions coming in. The Venn diagram on display from M3, but that was probably one of the most obvious baits that I've ever seen.
It might sound a little bit crazy because we can see where everyone is, but that was pretty obvious.
Yeah. Phase dive did come in there from Condi. Doinb, of course, able to Rift Walk himself to safety. That Sheen auto attack from SMLZ doing some work. Definitely
doing work. You can see the damage it's dealing. Going to be even more with the Last Whisper when that one is completed. So definitely worth noting. He is in a big spike. The rest of his team working around that. Of course, Dade, able to pick up those 3 kills earlier, has only got the 1 assist on the side of that. So individual mechanical plays from Dade has put himself well and truly into this game, if not ahead of the position Doinb is in.
Yeah.
But this 1v1 mid lane cannot continue for too much longer here from the side of M3. That's why they're grouping up, placing their vision around mid, trying to break the turret so they can unlock Dade to not have to be stuck here, because he is struggling.
He is. He's going to be able to take himself a blue buff. SMLZ's completed the Last Whisper, so 2 items for the Corki at the moment. 3-1-2. Massive CS advantage as well. We haven't had a look at this bottom lane as far as that CS is concerned, considering the lane swap. It's not all as relevant to compare them against each other. SMLZ does have the Valkyrie, so he's going to be safe, but that is a huge discrepancy of 60 CS in favor of SMLZ.
Yeah, massive, and then the 3 kills to boot as well, so that's like a ridiculous amount of gold between the two. I can't really say anything for this Kalista right now besides Xiaogu are looking for, say, 35 minutes in this game until the Kalista becomes relevant once more. Whereas SMLZ is so very relevant right now. Has his 2 penetration items, finished the boots and the last whisper. So he's in a fantastic position to output damage. The Kalista, at least until the Hurricane is finished, from now until then does nothing.
Yeah.
Like as close to literal 0 as possible in this game.
Well, it does have a couple of daggers, so, you know, he is able to pick up that recurve though pretty soon. Ooh, Doinb with some cheeky moves there over the top. Going to be able to get some damage down onto Dade. Dade probably looking just to play with the minion waves at this stage.
It's like throwing feathers really fast. It doesn't really make a difference because they don't really hurt. So at this stage, Xiaogu, they've got Doinb though. This is the big, really important fact, and we've touched on it a few times. And that is because he needs to bridge the rest of his team at this stage. He needs to get them going, or at least be a big carry in the mid game to ensure they hit that point.
Condi wasn't able to take down that ward. Doinb just saying, yep, I'm pretty tricksy. I can take down this pink ward. Not a whole lot you can do. Riftwalk actually on top of Dade here to prevent him from getting down to this fight. Lupo making his way towards the dragon. Exactly the reason why these teams are grouping at the moment. Because that one has just respawned. Yeah, he's down to half, and that was all Doinb.
He's doing burst. The trade was nice though because Doinb's taken some damage himself. He has to be very careful from here, as we mentioned, being the sole carry of the team.
Oh, Dredge line and depth charge going to be used on top of Doinb here, but he is able to make it to safety. Condi is going to take down TCT. M3. Dade's going to burn to death now as QG turning it all around. Massive damage out of this QG lineup as Condi's going to fall. Lupa very, very low. Actually, Condi not dead just yet. That was Ruo going down. Lupa trying to be huge, but Condi eventually falls. Wallop onto a couple of these members. The flash out from Lupa's not going to be enough, and it's a double kill for Doinb. And it looks like the beginning of QG.
The ideal team fight again in a very awkward situation in terms of strengths in this game. Swift kicking SMLZ, the big force in their team, the big damage output source. He goes down pretty much immediately by Swift's kick into Doinb and the turret to boot. That was a phenomenal fight for Xiaogu. They're going to be able to translate that one into the dragon, and we're going to see this again. So Doinb actually getting caught, but the reason he can be so aggressive is because a Shen ult comes down. This kick from Swift right here doesn't even have the ward placed just yet. He flashes instead, knocks them into Doinb and a taunt from V. So SMLZ had no chance, and from here, the big damage source down. Lupa, even in Mega Nard, does not really have the impact. TNT was still alive for a very long time. That is a very important point to make, is even though he's not really doing damage, he was the focus of M3 and he wasn't even doing enough, but he stayed alive for such a long time that, I mean, Xiaogu just looked really, really strong right there, and a coordinated team fight, something they do very well. Yeah,
the layering of CC definitely working out here. Doinb once again going to get Dredge line, but Riftwalk, or Rift Hop, as we like to call it now, it's going to be ignored here as Doinb just running around.
Yeah, Doinb starting to push his luck, but he is 4-0-1 with Lucidity boots as well. He's gone for the double AP pseudo-tanky items, so he's got the Rod of Ages for health, the Abyssal Scepter for magic resistance, but it was missing that cooldown reduction that a lot of Cassidans prefer to go with the Athenes. Picked that up in his boots, and now has already got the makings of what looks to be that Zonia's that we mentioned earlier. Yeah. He's going to be so difficult to stop once he finishes that.
Yeah, the back coming through from TNT. Death Sentence onto Condi now, but he's pretty tanky at the moment. Does have that Aegis of the Legion built up. So he is going to be fine. Sonic Wave not going to be answered with a Resonating Strike from Swift. And M3, now that they're grouped, moving around seeing if they can get something done.
Denying the recall right there, V. Just being a pest as much as he possibly can be. I mean, you look at the score lines of the AD carry, the top laner, and even the jungler to a degree, and you don't see a team that is directly winning this game. But Doinb, 3 games in a row now if we include this one. It's definitely not over yet, but if he's already carrying. So he's had standout performances on these Cassidans. He's found his replacement for the LeBlanc essentially at this stage, and he's putting in work.
He has, and Doinb, definitely a player that we weren't expecting to be this strong heading into the LPL, but looking brilliant at the moment. Now has that Zhonya's completed now as well, so can go into stasis in the middle of these team fights, and we'll see whether he's going to start getting things going, because he's got a whole lot more options now.
He definitely does. The way that he can play around the game, similar to the Rumbles, where they just find this innate ability to become a tank out of nowhere because they have the zone use there. The active is just tankiness in and of itself for this very smart utility that it provides. He is leaps and bounds ahead of his lane opponent here, who already had a triple kill, so doing a lot of work in mid lane Doinb. As we mentioned earlier, bridging his team potentially to a point where they are strong. Kalista finally has those 2 items and is strong.
Well, Kondi taking almost half of his health there from Doinb as he just pops over the wall. He's able to do that all day. Clears out the ward there at the same time. So QG, not only with control of the game, but their control of the vision is just ridiculous right now.
Yeah, they have placed down relevant vision is the way to describe this. They are only looking to fight in areas where they have the vision control. Something that is worth noting though at this stage is, we were talking about it earlier, M3 are looking to focus mid lane a lot. They're putting a lot of their efforts into trying to unlock Dade because he was the one struggling in lane by getting the turret down as soon as possible. It seems that Xiaogu 100% were aware that this was happening, and they've won a team fight now around that mid lane. It's delayed everything by a fair amount here for M3. They can't utilize their mid laner just as much anymore because if he tries to clear a wave mid, he finds Doinb on his face.
And this is very interesting, actually. SMLZ stepping away from what is sort of the Chinese corky way of grabbing that Blade of the Ruined King. Is opting for what looks like a Bloodthirster as his next item. Well, Death Sentence actually picks out Ruo here, but he decides to turn it back around. Stand United is down. There's the Fate's call. We'll see whether TCT goes back in here as V finds his way into the fight. The first kill for TNT now in this one as the Ren sets are starting to become a big deal. Looper about to get into Mega Nart. Doinb gets pushed in. Actually, Rift walks, flashes over the top. There it is. The kill goes down for Dade, but the work is done here from Doinb V. Very, very low, and TNT now able to get his work done. Nice dodge out of the way there for SMLZ, but the Rend, it's going to do it, and QG just tearing these guys apart. And Dade, that was just a look of disbelief on his face.
Exactly what we were just talking about is Doinb got the rest of his team going. He did the damage that was important, and his build is not designed to assassinate people. It's designed to be an overbearing, frontline, tanky assassin. It is exactly how he played that fight. He's got TNT with the 2 big items now, the Bloodthirst and that Runar's Hurricane completed.
Yeah.
He was the big carry member in that fight. He was the one ensuring that people were dying after the heavy lifting was completed by Doinb. And now they've found themselves in a position where they don't have just one threat anymore. They definitely have 2.
Yeah, and we were questioning V's play in the early game as well. Teleporting that back to that turret wasn't exactly the best idea, but how he's played out these team fights has been immaculate. Always down to incredibly low health, using that health bar as a tank should, like a resource. Like, I can now be in the middle of this fight and soak damage, and he always does it to the utmost of his potential every team fight.
And even in that last fight, connecting the taunts onto the important members. TCT.
Yeah, Dade thought that he was caught out there just a little bit, but TCT taking the full brunt of Dade's burst is going to go down. Nice dredge line comes out of Ruo, but Swift makes his way in V around the side at the same time. TNT looking to get this fight started. Dade going down very, very low. Nice shield from the Q, but Doinb locks down the kill. He's huge in the middle of this team fight. Not into the wall. He's probably going to go down, but we can't see him just yet. Looper finishes off the kill. SMLZ finally into the fight. V very tanky. Flashes out of the way of the dredge line. Kondi tanking up the turret for what looks like as long as he likes. And V's just so huge.
He's not going to die anytime soon, but they do take down Doinb. They do get down TNT.
Yeah,
the 2 carry sources are completely removed off this map right now. They're able to translate that into the Dragon already, and that was a better team fight from M3. It's what they're looking to do. Looper didn't even connect his ultimate, by the way, onto Doinb. He used it too early, but he had the damage there to secure the target going down. It starts to turn back around. The gold lead is actually still in favor of M3 all in all. A lot of wasted time and effort, though, has allowed Xiaogu back in this game. We're essentially back to square one.
Yeah, and I just want to point out the fact that Dade played that last team fight so beautifully on a defensive front, because Xiaogu, all they wanted to do was kill Dade. They just wanted to get him out of that fight. He managed to secure the first kill onto TCT and then just moved as far back as he could, allowed the rest of M3 to get there, and it was just the extra flanking power and the fact that Dade took so long to kill. Xiaogu just used too much to try and get onto that carry.
Yeah, the important part, of course, is that TCT was not available from the start of that fight. He was removed completely before it basically even began. So the ideal scenario for a fight starting there from M3 was to get a pick before you actually look to team fight. And that is what allowed them to so convincingly take down TNT in particular, is that he had no way to stay alive. He didn't have his partner in crime to throw at them to get them out, get himself out, and he didn't have someone to lantern him to safety. So TCT needs to be a little bit more careful here, because he's one of the biggest reasons that TNT can actually deal damage and not die.
Well, we'll see whether they can continue this one up here as TCT. Oh, someone took his lantern. He's getting a little bit upset there for a moment. I could feel it in that.
It gets a bit hypey.
Yeah, I mean, you want someone to take your lantern. If you're offering it, it's like, I spent mana on this, man. Why aren't you taking my lantern? It's TNT just clearing out this top wave. Is he going to be able to get that one done? But I want to talk about the items for a moment here. Randuin's Omen and the Thornmail completed for Lupa. Not going to be scared of TNT whatsoever. Is this now building towards some of that magic resist. So the Doinb isn't going to be able to do too much, and see whether M3 can now start their path to victory, or whether it's going to be QG turning this one around. Of course, their late game comp's pretty scary, Rusty.
Yeah, it is. I mean, both teams have a very good late game that needs to be respected. I think it comes down to execution a lot more. If the Lee Sin, if we do hit late game, is still going to be very relevant with one kick. That is the important part, is if Xiaogu's, if Swift can hit that kick, then they can still have a very convincing team fight. But at this stage, it just feels like it's so easy for Ruo to be the one initiating for their team.
Yeah.
And just throwing down that ultimate and ensuring that someone gets caught. Lupa, as you mentioned, building tanky, can actually just stack armor and then go for Doinb.
See whether it does work as we move towards the later stages of the game. At the moment, it feels like that point where Swift is searching for relevance, Rusty.
Definitely is. He is waiting for a very important moment where he can be the one initiating. But this is basically that trough that we were mentioning, where the Lee Sin still okay, but just not going to be having the impact that an Echo could have in this game. And one of the bigger question marks is the Xiaogu's drafting as to why they went for this Lee Sin, perhaps.
Yeah.
Didn't really get anything happening. Still been very relevant now, 10 out of the 13 kills. It's been doing well. But now it feels like, at this point in time in particular, Swift's starting to struggle.
And we were not expecting this moving into this matchup as well. If we go back to what we were talking about earlier in as we were introducing these teams, we were looking at the jungle and thinking, this is a mismatch. We were looking at Swift to say, this guy is a god coming over, has looked fantastic, but he's trying to play Condi's game, and it's not working.
Yeah, Doinb is just trying to play the catalyst of his team's success.
He certainly is. Parallel Convergence is going to come down, but Condi's soaking a little bit too much damage, of course. Oh, there it is! Doinb not going to be phased by it, though. Heads over there as the Stand United comes in as well. This Caston is taking a lot of killing. Does have the Zonyas, going to use it. TNT's going to take down Dade, and now he's going to explode over this fight. SMLZ is going to be the third kill as the triple comes in, and TNT just rocked that fight. That was all about him.
TNT performing in that fight right there, being exactly where his team required him to. But this is the pick that we were talking about, where M3 found a successful fight, turn that around, and this is how Xiaogu win that fight. They catch Echo out of position, force Condi's ultimate immediately, and then they have a very easy victory. Doinb quite literally threw himself into the dead center of that fight to try and be a tank, bait them into hitting him, and then use the Zonyas to ensure that he stayed alive, because he'd already done his job. He got down Condi here. He initiated all of this, even using the flash after Condi gets over the wall to ensure that he dies. Straight away, now watch what Doinb does and how he just puts himself in the dead center of this fight so that they're going for him. Swift's kick there was phenomenal, and it puts Dade immediately in the front of TNT, who is sitting at the perfect range, the perfect distance to ensure that he can put down all of his damage and not be touched.
Yeah, complete safety there for TNT, and it's once again the Swift and V show in the team fight. There's the fact that the kick comes through, immediately taunted.
Yeah, their combo is doing wonders for team fighting. It's always on the important members. Dade has been the focal point. SMLZ was the last one to get kicked into a taunt as well. So
yeah,
Swift doing well to make sure these kicks are on their carries, and not only that the kick is on the carry, but the follow-up from V on the exact same target, and it's in front of a carry from Xiaogu. It's just doing so well for them.
It really is. That being said, SMLZ headed back to base and grabbed himself an Infinity Edge. Thought it was going to be the Bloodthirster. No, he had about 2.3k, so he's just going to spend that money on the massive crit item. So this Corki going to be doing a lot of damage.
Do you like the Last Whisper more now?
I do like it a bit more
He's got the Infinity Edge so that he's critting for a lot more damage.
Yeah, he's only got the extra crit of Eternity Force though, so look, Could be better. Would still like to see Berserker's Greaves and a Phantom Dancer.
You're implying you want a Phantom Dancer on a Corki that is a spell-based AD carry.
Look, it's not about that. We are going to have a team fight, though, here as Dade's just going to get destroyed. Doinb takes down the mid laner of M3, and now they're just going for the dive. Lupa not at Mega Nut just yet. TNT running rampant over this fight one more time. Just poising everywhere right now. Lupa, that death sentence from TCT. What the hell? QG, they all get nard. That's just going to take them close to the turret and themselves breaking the base.
The only member going down was someone dying to the turret right there. Swift finds exactly the engage again that they're looking for, immediately taking out Dade. No response, no time to react. And that Gnar would have been fight changing. They may not have even lost the turret of the inhibitor if that had connected. But TCT, with the miracle death sentence in terms of timing, managing to save his team, they only lose one person, as mentioned, to a turret. And now Xiaogu have just basically pressed that on switch. They decided they felt like winning a game.
Yeah.
And that's what they're going well and truly towards at this stage.
Yeah, I just want to talk about Condi for a moment, holding onto that minion wave, making sure that Xiaogu couldn't finish the game at that point. Of course, they still had a lot of damage. 4 members of the team, and one of them being TNT, means they're able to take down turrets, but they just couldn't tank it. V was just a little bit too low, and it just meant because that wasn't there. What the hell?
That was the longest Dark Passage I think I've ever seen. That was amazing.
Yeah, deliver TNT to the Krugs. That was the fastest I've seen one person take down Dragon and Krugs ever in my life. So thank you very much for that, TNT. I'm learning on the Rift.
That was amazing. But you're right, the way that they've actually worked around Condi actually saving the game, essentially, was really nice.
Yeah, cute.
The fact that Lupa got the ultimate off as well saved them a little bit because Swift was down. There wasn't 5 members there exclusively. They've done well, M3, with what they have, but they're also being engaged on. Something that we mentioned, Lee Sin's kicks. The only thing he's really good for later in the game is hitting that kick. But he's done it twice in a row on important members. And that is one of the biggest catalysts of his team's success from here.
Yeah, we were talking about Swift as not being able to get the work done in the early game, which is what you expect from a Lee Sin, right? But now that it's the late game, this is where he's really able to shine. And it's just not what I was expecting moving into this game. I was thinking that maybe, you know, Condi now has more tools to get things done. But it looks like, based on how the scores are evolving especially, 2-3 and 16 now for Swift, he's just been able to get more work done. But
when you've got a Kassadin engaging for you, it just feels all too easy. The focus 100% onto Doinb. You can just get into the backline, seamlessly slip your way in, and hit that Dragon's Kick that you're looking for. I mean, it's just working wonders, the fact that Doinb actually was successful in his laning phase against the Victor. They may want to question why they've actually picked Victor so early in the order, taking it away from Doinb, but it also unlocks the Kassadin as a complete possibility, and he's carried with it every single time he's been on it.
Yeah, and M3, they knew that that was a pick that was an option for Doinb here as well. So now, of course, that the Rod of Ages has been buffed on this patch, we have to remember that it's 5.13. SMLZ takes 1 Q. Yeah, okay, that was a heck of a lot of damage. Doinb, you've just got to
He actually doesn't care.
Yeah, decides not to calm down here as the depth charge is going to get blocked by that Zonya's parallel convergence comes in. Doinb actually jumping out of it, is going to burn to death though as the Ignite ticks down. TCT gets Fates called out and QG want nothing of this fight now that they've had their mid laner picked off. And M3 looks like they've still got some fight left in them.
V not using his ultimate as well there raises some questions as to what
some eyebrows
he
there
was
of Doinb as he just
doing. Yeah. I would raise my eyebrow too. It's Shen not hitting the ultimate. He got out to safety, probably worth using it. In saying that, it's not a massive loss. They're going to lose at least 1 turret though, maybe even 2 turrets, depending on if M3 are feeling over-aggressive. It does seem like they want to go towards that. And Doinb, while we're talking about what over-aggressive is personifying that to a T.
Oh, yeah. And when they're running a 2-threat comp like this, they can't afford to lose that portion of the damage because M3, they do have options to get into the back line, and TNT just is not safe enough for them to try and fight anything.
Yeah, that's right. They are running almost exclusively that 2-threat comp. The rest of the teams looking to work around the strengths of this Kassadin and bridge themselves, something they've done successfully now. They've got TNT going. But he can't continue to be by himself in the middle of the enemy base looking to put damage onto a Nautilus. There's situations where you realize that you're making a mistake. That was probably one of them. And he might be a little bit smarter from here.
Yeah, maybe a little bit sheepish at this stage, but We do have the Blade of the Ruin King completed for SMLZ. Trinity Force, though, built by V. So, look, what I was talking about when I was saying a 2-threat comp, that was before V decided to grab that Trinity Force. Now doing, some damage. Can actually threaten SMLZ, not only with the fact that he's impossible to kill, but also the fact that his auto attacks are going to be doing some work, and he has a whole lot of extra stickiness with that Rage passive coming through from the Phage component of the Trinity Force.
I like it. I'm more of a fan personally of the static shift, but I definitely
I like Wit's End. You see, I've been speaking about some ridiculous stuff here as Doinb does have to stand united this time. TNT trying to bounce around this fight, still untouched, already taken down one. That's two, almost picking up the third here. Death sentence onto Looper as well. TNT just bouncing around the fight. Looper's gonna die. Not after a decent gnaw there into the wall, and B's gonna lock down the kill. Condi, the last man standing, one more time. But QG, they might be able to finish this one off.
Looper has spent this whole game wondering where the hell his team has disappeared to, because they keep just getting engaged on so well. The big difference in that fight, Doinb actually got the Shen ultimate. They should be able to end this game on the back of that, but it's a very stellar performance from Doinb in particular to ensure the rest of his team gets going. But in saying that, the rest of the team working around that so well. V using his ultimate, the Shen ult, onto Doinb, and Swift hitting those Lee Sin kicks.
Yeah, and of course, Kalista may have got a slight nerf, but still, in China, as well as every other competitive region, it looks like the Kalista's still a massive pick here, and we'll see whether M3 can bounce back, whether they can possibly get a ban onto the board.